Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to East versus West.
And we're like, welcome once again, everybody, to another Sunday night casual. As you see, it's actually gonna be daytime right now. Uh, I'm about to. I'll be here for another day. I'm in China. It's very exciting. This place, the arm wrestling scene, is going to blow up. It's gonna absolutely blow up. Uh, did you know in China, in many of the middle schools and high schools, they actually have arm wrestling tables at their school. Mm, It's just nuts. Like for I think that's where the the you know how we can get I think it's gonna pop in China pretty soon. It's absolutely nuts. Now think about it this way. Right now, uh, the new generation, it's the most important generation because obviously they have it's like a pyramid scheme, right? Like not scheme, but a pyramid shape where the new generation is always bigger than the older generation. And this generation, as it moves forward higher and higher, I'm not talking about the pay-per-view or anything like that, but just as soon as they are old enough to make their own decisions, able to drive themselves, to practice themselves. Right now, all practice are limited to weekends, Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. Whoa. I was just there. And we are talking about currently in clubs, we are talking like thousands. Like in the northern China part, like in Beijing, which is not where I am right now, but if it's like in the Beijing area, 1,000 in clubs, and it's common. It's absolutely common. And the one good thing that China has that the rest of the world doesn't, is that sheer number of population, man. Sheer number of population. So, wow, it's just absolutely awesome. Oh, okay. So I'm just reading the chat. Oh yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to see you once again. I think. Yeah, it's so much fun. Um, our title sponsor for 2026 is from China, Top Force, and they they ma- they manufacture all the different kind of handles. So I visited, some of their gyms. They showed me all their equipment. Their factory is it's in a more remote village because apparently uh, uh that specific village has a tax credit on manufacturing like equipment, like gym equipment. It's so specific. And they have electricity credits for 3D printing. So that's why they have it built right there. But their office is here in a city called Hangzhou. So Hangzhou is also the city where Alibaba is. So I've met with them past 2 days. I've been here. Great people, super excited. Currently, China is not affiliated with WAF or IFA, so they don't have very much structure as what they are needing right now. And Top Force is wanting to uh, help the country grow its arm wrestling scene by having some level of structure. So we've been talking the past few days trying to figure out some form of collaboration because one of the partners in here, his family, uh, you know, I don't know if they own the network. My Mandarin's a little rusty. I don't know if they own the network or they are somewhere at the top of the TV station network. And to stream East versus West. We need some TV stations sort of approval. Oh, okay. I think we got Robert in here. And hey, Robert.
So Dexter,
Hey,
how's your trip?
it's been very fruitful. I'll be heading to the airport in 24 hours. But
Oh, good.
I've got one more stop, which is uh, I'm heading to where our jerseys are made because I think we need to make minor modifications. Like certain things needs to be a little bit more sort of reinforced, like the colors and whatnot, and material changes perhaps. So I'm just going there to see what other options we can do to help increase the quality that we currently have. That's all.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was just telling the crowd here how how China is so unique and it's ripe for the plucking because the community here is massive and unstructured. So because they're not affiliated with WAF or IFA, currently even their refereeing system, it is there is no uh bec- they do not have any form of formal refereeing training. So anybody who arm wrestle is automatically a referee, a pseudo referee here in China. And so it's kind of a mess. They understand that. And even a simple thing, it's not standardized, like the table. It's not standardized. They don't they don't fully know what the full dimensions are, and that's why I've been working with them to share with them what table dimensions we use, and then they've already made uh the first batch using our designs, but there were slight things that I missed instructing them, which could be crucial. Example, like the bottom of the legs of the table should be rounded instead of the poles coming down circular, but the base that holds it is has a sharp angle. And it's just very small details at this point. The riser height, right now they have it at 4 inches. And I think you measure it. Currently, our risers are 3.5, so they're gonna make those modifications and but overall the table seems to be pretty, very good, high quality. The other one that I realized that we have not standardized was the thickness of the tabletop. They made it thinner because they were saying, hey, it's easier to go into a top roll, because they can go underneath the table a little bit easier if the tabletop wasn't as thick. So it's like, oh, that's fair, and technically, we don't have a standard. Even I think WAF does not have a standard on how thick the tabletop needs to be. So that's something, I have to go back and kinda discuss with you. They will be shipping one, full set to us, so we can confirm everything, or perhaps maybe due to lack of time, we might just see it in, Vienna. We have the option of using it or not to use it if it doesn't meet our standard. So we'll still bring our current table there,
Mhm.
but at least we'll be able to judge if every dimensions, because I physically hand measure everything. And the slight difference was they use centimeters for the dimensions while we use inches. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's 3 inches, it's 10.2 centimeters, but they just round it to 10 centimeters. It's like, we use inches, so we gotta stick to inches. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very minor
So
things like that.
yeah. So I'm glad you're doing this because I don't know if people know this that you have a strong engineering background in multiple areas, just engineering, but also mechanical engineering and also civil engineering. So you've got among your various advanced degrees. But anyway, so it's good that we have you doing this, Dexter. I think it's perfect. But here's what I would say to the plant, the factory, is we don't want to make the sides of the table thinner because we want to make sure we stay within the standards that we've already established, and the look and feel that we have. Also for our sponsors, so our sponsors, will need that um, much room to put their logo. So I would say let's not change that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I told them the exact same thing, and I told them like, "Hey, you're our main sponsor for the year. What do you want your logo a little bit bigger?" And they're like, "Well,
Right.
yeah, I guess so."
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that is those are all great points. So I told them to just copy, exactly how we currently have it. Uh, the only thing that I don't have a good standard on, it is actually the cushioning, the pads, right? That's something
Yeah.
that we had a pretty decent discussion about because our table over time, the pads, I mean, when I say pads, I'm not talking about just the elbow or any of the pads. Anywhere that has that cushioning
Yep.
material, over time that degrades and starts flattening out. At what point do we replace the entire cushioning, right? For everything, right? So so that's something we have to talk about because there's multiple different variants. Do you want it a bit harder or do you like it a little bit softer? Uh, so that one's a little bit subjective, and currently we don't have that in our standards. So
Mhm.
I've got to, you know, figure it out with you guys who are actually the arm wrestlers to tell me, oh, man, this is exactly what we need, or that's way too soft. Um, so that's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
stuff.
Some of it's personal preference, but I think our athletes mostly will like the firmer pads. Um, but we should actually ask our athletes too. I mean, not just make the decision ourselves, but let them be involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So they they're actively trying. So their game plan right here, and this is why they invested so much money in EVW, in the form of sponsorship, and I'm really happy that they know that we can get the eyeballs out there for their company. They haven't even launched their website yet, which I think they're telling me that it'll be done sometime either next week or so. The idea behind that is so that it could potentially also want to talk to us about hosting an EVW Sports collaboration where they'll run the Asian version essentially. So it could be East versus West Asia, right? And so because right now it doesn't, aside from several Asian countries, specifically like Japan, obviously we know Yoshi's there, and technically Kazakhstan and half of Turkey is also Asia. But we're talking about mostly Eastern and Southeast Asia. I mean, we had Valen Low last year in Arlington, but aside from that, we haven't really pulled too much from the East Asian side other than Japan. Um, they are wanting to start, their league, obviously with a lot from our assistance. We'll give inputs from matchmaking perspective, but mostly also on broadcast and and because the stream will originate from China, they have no problems controlling uh well, having China has its own market by itself. Have you seen the population? You're the one that sent
Yeah.
me the population,
Right.
1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
And
Almost
and
1.5
then
billion. Yeah.
yeah, almost there. Right? And then they are able to have sort of a standard. So even because so Top Force, the owner of Top Force was telling me that originally their factory were only building powerlifting equipment, so like barbells and whatnot. And he showed me a couple of samples why theirs they think is superior, but uh they don't even have the powerlifting or weightlifting organization inside China. I think it's IPA or something to that effect. No WAF, no IFA. So they have no guidance. And so they're hoping a private company like ours can go in, send our reps there, and give them training, standardize something, and then they have a structured way to grow the sport. Because right now, I think there are a couple of videos I think I showed you guys. I think I sent I sent it to you. It's nuts. We see kids 12 years old, 13 years old. They're making their own equipment right now for arm wrestling training in middle school. And schools in China have arm wrestling tables. Not all schools, obviously, but a good number of schools. Their clubs are in the thousands. It's just nuts. I think it's only a matter of time, when we if we want to hit mainstream, we can use the help of some Chinese, the Chinese population too. So I'm a little biased, obviously, that I spend a little bit more attention here. But that's not to say I think Robert has also looked at. I mean, you've looked at a lot in Africa. Right?
Yep.
Africa is another
That's a
place
really
that,
growing. Yeah.
yeah, not quite fully tapped yet, and I think there's a lot of potential there.
We
A
can
lot
do
of
a lot.
potential.
We can do a lot in Africa. And I think too, you know, India, they've got Prapanjali, but there's a lot that can be done in India as well. That's 1.2 billion people. So, and they're, of course, pretty big into arm wrestling, but not, they're doing a different model. They're kind of it's all sponsorship. They're, people in India don't like the to buy, to pay for a pay-per-view or pay for things like that. But the sponsorship model is working there. So we just need to adapt a little bit and maybe even work with um, Parvin at Prapanjali League a little bit to open up
Yeah,
that market more for everybody. I mean, because it's really to me, arm wrestling has always been. WAF has really taught me this. It's a brotherhood and sisterhood of the whole world. It's not like political. It's not. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody just connects because of because you're arm wrestling. You love arm wrestling, right? I mean, there's no place more prevalent of that thinking than WAF. I mean, it's every year I go, it's people from all over the world that don't even speak your language and you don't speak their language, but you just connect. And so that's what we need, I think, for arm wrestling to really go big too, is that same uh, idea that exists at WAF, um, with just everybody is really the same. I mean, we're all together in this. It's not like we hate one group of people because of their leader or because of their belief. I know China believes in communism. Of course, I don't believe in communism. That doesn't mean that we can't work together. Um, and the same with a lot of other countries. So I'd say that there are very few places that we just can't work with.
the interesting thing is that, coming to China, they don't have access to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
Mhm.
right? They have a little bit of access to TikTok, but as you know, of all of our social media platforms, TikTok is by far our smallest crowd that we don't pay as much attention compared to our YouTube account. And it's pretty similar to the rest of our Western athletes as well. I mean, over here they have their own version of Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and so the access they have is somewhat limited to what we actually have. So, example, training videos from our athletes, uh, they have to go through a lot of effort to to actually watch the video. So one of the athletes they watch a lot obviously is Devin, but they have great things to talk about. Todd Hutchings,
Yeah.
and the other one is Daniel Ustinov. He even came last year into kind of teach the Chinese how to train. And so
Mm.
everybody was really, really happy. People would travel far away come to watch and learn from some of the our athletes, and so they are just super excited now. They're asking me, hey, which athlete can come over and train us? I was like, okay, okay, I'll see who uh you know who I can reach out to, but here's the cool part, Robert. Because they don't have the full access, and they're kind of like in a turtle, because a lot of whatever they put up is on a Chinese social media platform, right? Which the rest of the world doesn't really pay attention to, other than perhaps just China. So they come up with innovative new things that potentially could help. When you start picking out pieces, the good pieces of their
Mhm.
innovation, that could potentially help as well, right? Some of their training tools, I don't think I've seen it before, because they don't know they have to manufacture their own training equipment. That perhaps there's something there, but I don't know. I think there's a lot to learn from them, but also a lot to teach them as well. So
Yeah,
anyway,
love it.
but
I think. Go ahead.
oh, no, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think I've always thought Asia is a huge market for arm wrestling, and it's growing like crazy all over. I mean, if you look at Korea is growing very rapidly arm wrestling wise. Japan has been um, really big for quite a long time. They were probably the first from Asia to really adopt arm wrestling, and China, of course, is the biggest market of all, and no one's been able to really break into that market and not make that work so that it works with the government, and everybody's working together, and they can actually help us to control piracy. I mean, we wouldn't have the problem like that we have in the rest of the world. So, anything we can do to help promote arm wrestling in Asia, and especially Southeast Asia, I think is key. I mean, and with Philippines is also really taken off for arm wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. There is a comment here by CBLA that says Asia isn't known for strength sports, in my opinion. Arm wrestling is a strength sport. I would tend to generally agree. There are certain, I think, genetics that allows certain race or certain DNA or genetic background that gives them an edge for sure. The Nordic people generally tend to do better. I mean, uh, the African Americans, the African descent usually are a little bit stronger. Yeah, that's true. But I think Asia has one component that the rest of the world sometimes overlook. It's that there is weird genetic mutation that happens, right? Example, right? Let's just say 1% of all Nordic uh, descent has a crazy bone density, like Brian Shaw, for instance, right? Let's say just 1%. And the Asians are 0.1%. So a tenth, only a tenth of what the Nordic people
Right.
have it. And the difference is we have the population to support 10x, which gives us weird genetic mutations like Yao Ming to show up at the NBA and beat everybody else, right? So I think that's the one component that we have. But the general mass population, like myself, yeah, I don't think I'll ever see myself, competing in WAF at the highest level ever. But there's a lot of us, and I'm sure one of us will get there as soon as we put eyeballs to it, right? So there are, I think, certain strengths that we have, and I think there's also what we call strength in numbers. So that there's
Yeah.
and yeah, so that I think that's what we are kind of missing out a little bit. And Robert, somebody just commented, nice shirt.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I decided to go with something other than EVW today. Just try it out.
One there was a one comment. There's a comment by Mines fam. He says, "Do below the table kings move still legit in China? Potentially, but that is because of refereeing lack of refereeing training. But this is what they told me. I asked, hey, what is a popular move in China? Is it top row? It's like, yeah, top row is obviously the most popular. But what's the second most popular? They told me it's the King's move. I'm like, whoa. According to Bob Brown, that should not be taught to the new guys. It should be like one of the last things you learn. It's more technical. And they told me there is a lot of people here in the 50s and 60s arm wrestling. And because their joints are a little bit more like brittle, no, not brittle, but their joints aren't as good, their elbow isn't as good as specifically. So their side pressure isn't as good. So they rely on the King's move, on the biceps, on the back pressure a little bit more. So it doesn't hurt them as much. It's like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
So the
Well, the
King's move
reason
is
that the
pretty
King's
popular
move,
here.
yeah, the reason the King's move works really well for older people is because older arm wrestlers, not really older people that start arm wrestling, but the more you've tortured your arm in the arm wrestling over the years, the less flexibility you have. Pretty soon you can't straighten your arm, right? So that's really good for the King's move. Bob Brown, for example, Michael Todd, um, uh, Crazy George from Canada, they can't straighten their arms. Like Devin, he can't straighten his arm either. I mean, if you try to ask any of these guys to straighten, they can't. It's because of all the years of arm wrestling, and then you tighten the tendons begin to tighten. If you don't stretch them afterwards, and sometimes even if you do, injuries occur in the tendons, and it results in a shortening or a tightening of the tendons. So bottom line is, the older you get and the more experience you have and the more mileage you have on your arm, the less it straightens. And so that's why the older guys, kind of resort to that. So if you look at Pascal Gerard from Switzerland, he's maybe 60. I think he's really close anyway, but he's still very good because he relies on the King's move. Svetan Kashevsky from Bulgaria, you know, maybe the best lightweight in history. Um, I mean, a lot of people believe it, but it's because his King's move is so incredibly good because his arm doesn't straighten. So he's 56 years old, and he's he very well may be unbeatable in the lightweights. So we want to get him, of course, into EVW because everybody would love to see that, me included. But again, King's move. So if you look at all these guys that are a little more mileage on their arms, the King's move is a favorite, and and they have all those advantages because you know as you get older, your tendons don't get weaker if you exercise and keep them in. And Journal of Sports Medicine proved that in a study that they did, that tendons get stronger over age, not weaker, if you use them on a regular basis, right? So these older guys, I mean, look at Todd Hutchings. He'll be 60 this year in May, and he's not getting weaker. He's actually getting stronger. Each outing, you'll see, Todd Hutchings getting stronger each year, each time. So there really is no. I mean, we don't know what the limits are, but tendon wise, it's probably it's into 60 at least. As far as we know just from observation, right? So, and then the King's move, as long as you have this, the ability to rise and pronate and to have an arm lock that doesn't go down. So you really can't beat Michael Todd or Gashevsky or Crazy George or any of these guys that have these bone locks, unless you break their arm. Like, I mean, so they'll, you'll see Michael Todd, he'll just kind of give up, and he'll, like when Devin beat him a few years ago, he just kind of went with it. I mean, because otherwise you're probably going to hurt your arm, right? So, but you don't see guys breaking their arms either at that age because the bone gets denser. The more stress that's put on the bone, the thicker and denser it gets. So the chance of bone break as you get older and as you put more stress on your bones, the more experienced and the longer term arm wrestlers is very slight. I mean, you could Even my arm, I mean, I've had people, I mean, just pound on it, like multiple people, and do it any position. I can get in a super bad position, break arm position, doesn't matter, because the tendons, ligaments, and bones get denser and thicker and stronger with the more stress over time uh, there is. So anyway, probably went too far, but on King's Move. But yeah, King's Move is really good, but not advisable for a young guy to start doing a King's Move necessarily.
So one of the things that I noticed is that you have been arm wrestling for what, some 30 years ish, right? 30, was it 35 years? And
30, 32 years.
32
That's
years.
Yep.
Your arm is pretty straight.
Not really. Not. I mean, not like it should be. So my arm, this is as straight as it goes right here. That's as straight as my arm goes. Now,
Uh,
my left arm doesn't have near as much of wear and tear on it, so my left arm goes straight, right? That's but my left arm's not nearly. I've never won a world championship or any anything big left-handed. I do okay in the U.S. or local events, but still nothing compared to the right. So yeah, I've just put a lot more wear and tear on my right, and it shows because it doesn't really straighten. I mean, that looks like it may be kind of straight compared to Devin and Crazy George and Gashevsky and some of these guys, Michael Todd. But yeah, it's not straight. Bob Brown, his arms, worse than mine as well.
so comment is this: if China is going to sponsor a European arm or American arm wrestling, that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, so they are our title sponsor. Top Force is our sponsor for the whole year. They committed for all our events this year. So super excited to s- to get their support. There are a couple of talks about Robert changing the height of the table depending on the weight, as specifically for the super heavy weights. Should the table be raised for them?
Well, I mean, we've talked about that before. I know Brian Shaw really would like that to happen as well. I mean, it's an advantage for him, probably a big advantage probably for Vitali. Um, but it's something that we should continue to talk about. But I think we need a standard height, and then we can have we have the risers that go 3.5 inches. Um, so right, raising it from where it is now. Um, if we're going to do it, we better do it pretty soon because it's the standards are being set and all these different countries, and we need to make sure that we're helping set those standards so they're EVW standards.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Uh, the only thing I might question this is it's easier to go lower than it is for you to tiptoe to get higher without
Yeah,
the help of a riser. So, there is that thing that I would say you could totally just drop and bend your knees a little bit, to get it. But I
yeah,
think that there's also a height advantage. Doesn't it let you get on top of the table and be in a position of to press a little easier if you are taller?
yeah. There's definite advantages to being taller and to having the table height a little lower as well in certain movement, certain moves, certain. Um, uh, but overall, yeah, I mean, as far as a King's move, it's probably not an advantage. I mean, if you look at Devin, even he's only 6'5", but his knees are a lot of times touching the ground when he's pulling in a King's move. I mean, he's way low. But
Okay.
so yeah, so we should talk more about it before we completely set the standard. I mean, make it to where there's no going back because it's pretty close. The time is coming.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I
already
mean,
probably here.
you don't see them changing the dimensions of the NBA or the
No,
NFL the football field now. It's all
no,
locked up.
or the football or the basketball. It's all set, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, there might be things that could be a little different, a little bit better, but there's no change in it at this point. I think what we should do is we should probably get with Vitaly Leledin, the guys that are, that would be mostly affected by this, the taller guys. Vitaly's 6'8". Uh, you've got Brian Shaw. We probably ought to talk to him more. I know how he feels already. I haven't talked to Vitaly though. And then Devin, um, we probably ought to talk to those three to start with and see what they think. I mean, that would be um, interesting to get their perspectives on it.
yeah. Another one here is asking, I'm going through chronologically, and I'm a little back and forth a little. Right now, somebody's asking, how do we integrate with our league if, I think they're talking about specifically about the separate Asian version of EVW sports. I think what that is through our preliminary talks, we have a lot of athletes that we have not seen on stage for a while now, and we would like to see them. It's just that we haven't had the space or the slots to put them back in yet. Especially right now, a lot of our fans would like to see the heavier guys, but that's just I'm on the lighter side of things, and most Asians are they play really well and technically in the 70 kilogram, 77 kilogram range, and that's where they could shine more of our international athletes, right? They could invite, say, Joseph Miranda. We haven't seen him in a while, right? Cody Wood is another guy, right? They could bring some of the lighter EVW athletes over, and so they could focus more on the lighter weight guys. And that's how I could see how we can integrate, because as soon as some of the Asian guys compete with some of the our known Caucasian athletes, the West athletes, then we can really gauge at what level sit athletes that these Asian athletes are, right? If the Asian athlete loses 3-2, they get, okay, it's pretty close, right? Or even the athletes somehow beat the Western athletes, then we know, okay, well, maybe we should bring them on the mains, on our main EVW event. So that's something that we could do right now. Like as you mentioned, the population in India is so large that they don't need anyone outside of India to help grow their own sport, because the Prapanjali is doing a good job just going in circles inside their country, right? The Chinese could eventually do it, but if they could, if this collaboration works out, isn't it just better? Because then we are just making our whole sport more international, more inclusive, and more localized. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's better to have it more universal and and basically unite the whole world. That's the idea of the Olympics too, right? I mean, is politics aside, doesn't really matter. All the countries get together every 4 years and they have the Olympics, right? And then, well, actually every 2 years because you have the Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics. So every other year you're getting that benefit of bringing the world together. And I think that's what East versus West was kind of founded on, is bringing East and the West together for the first time. But it should be the whole world, and and it really is. But you have to exclude certain groups just because um, of politics right now. I mean, like the Chinese, for example. Um, there's that like Chinese firewall, right? So you can't really see much of what's going on in the rest of the world. But like you said, though, to me offline, Dexter, you just learned that the Chinese actually know EVW and our athletes extremely well. Like they're big fans already. So somehow it's getting through to them. And then look how big it is with 1,000 clubs or more, without being, having that access. Just think when we can help get that access and that international access. Um, I mean, it'll be much, much bigger than it is right now. And there's a lot of countries like that. It's not just China. um, that need to be opened up. That we can do a lot to help them.
Tell you something super funny. And maybe I'll post this on my social media channels. Yesterday, those guys, after dinner, they brought me for a foot massage. And then we were at this foot massage place, and there was a it was a whole bunch of us, and they put a big old like projector screen. Now this is at an established, nice place,
Hmm.
and it was EVW, a pirated EVW channel playing Morozov and Vitali's match.
Oh, really?
So at a foot massage, it's super pirated. The pirates were not even shy of putting their own channel as a watermark right in the middle of the screen. Ah,
Yeah.
so
Well,
so this is the other thing that we're gonna get the partnership is that the local guys here, they will start will have an EVW official EVW page that will be managed and curated by the local Chinese here. So
mhm,
that's so that they have access to real quality and not do you know how they get through some of the piracy right now? They were showing me that they would use a mirror and they will film the mirror. So everything is kind of weird in order to get past some piracy thing. It's because they are worried they will come after them, but little did they know that I wasn't even aware that they were pirated because I
mhm.
can't enter I don't read
Yeah.
Chinese. So that's how much they're going against. But the government here is known if there's one good thing about the communists is that they're extremely strict. Their punishment is sometimes unbalanced, but very, very strict. So,
Hmm.
as soon as something gets reported of piracy, they get shut down a lot faster than some of our social media companies like Meta. They take a lot longer to respond to shut down the account, but China is super fast. And I think with enough penalties, they would not even attempt. So people don't even try to attempt anymore. They're only
Hmm.
doing it right now because we don't have an official physical presence in China. But once we do, China's going to be super clean. I think that's the slight difference between China and some pirates from other countries. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think we need to work with them.
And okay, so chronologically, there's another question for you, Robert. Have you been impressed with Lavon's left arm workout? Any plans for him soon?
Yeah. I've always been impressed with Levon's left. I mean, even when he was really injured, just a couple of years ago, I think, when he went to Orlando, Florida, and he got stem cells, Devin was there. I think Devin invited him there, and he came, um, and it was the same stem cell doctor that Devin was using, and he said he noticed some improvements. But the longer you go with an injury without getting stem cells or getting treated, the less likely the therapy is going to work, or it's not going to work as well, right? So it still worked. He said he did notice a difference, and uh, and now he said he's pretty good. I mean, he feels pretty good. Um, but even back a couple of years ago, when it was kind of the height of his injury, he still had a really pretty easy time with Devin. Now, granted, Devin wasn't pulling left at the time, and it was his party arm, as he calls it. But an injured Levon taking down Devin left-handed so easily, even 2 years ago, was pretty impressive to me. And then his gym lifts left. I mean, he's doing huge amounts of weight. I mean, so no doubt Levon is. I mean, he may be the left and right uh, world champion left. I mean, for unlimited super heavy. So um, it'd be interesting to see. And he did already commit on the podcast with Devin and Vitali and Levon. Back what 3 weeks ago when we had that, he did commit to Devin that he would pull left-handed if Devin wins the world title next month. So, but I mean, you heard that too, I think. But here's what I got out of it. I think he wants to pull left-handed no matter what because he's training left-handed now, and he hasn't been doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Many people learn how to write with their left hand because they've injured their right hand, right, in
Yeah,
school. So this is he's kind of forced, in a way. So that may be a tiny blessing in disguise. Obviously we don't wish for any athlete to get injured, but it might be the small silver lining from what we come out of from this incident with Levon. But yeah,
true.
maybe
No,
we'll
it's
see
good.
Levon
That's a
on the
good point.
left.
Yeah, we could get Levon pulling twice as often.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Um, there is a question about if China isn't part of WAF, how are we planning on utilizing the athletes there? I don't think it's so much an athlete needs to be affiliated with WAF in order to compete at EVW. It's more the athlete cannot be affiliated with EFA in order to compete in EVW, right?
Right.
Would you say that that's more the case?
That's the case. Yeah.
Um, and the next thing is, well, there's a little bit of talks about the gauntlet, but I think we kind of addressed that a little bit already. Gauntlet. So there was that poll, and I think Robert, you saw that poll that it was an overwhelming number of people who
Yeah, it was. Yep. And
wanted
that's
the
what.
hammer.
Yep. So that's pretty clear what the community wants and what the fans want. And now, um, I'm not sure what the holders of the gauntlets think. I haven't asked Vitali and I haven't asked Levon, but we'd have to get those back. I mean, they would have to want to, um, you know, let us do something different with those gauntlets. But if I know what Devin would do. If Devin got the gauntlet back, he would be all in favor of handing it over and letting us do whatever we wanted with it. And if he were to win the right hand, either because Levon is out, for more than a year, or if he were to win it, I'm sure he would do the same thing. So the next step would be to see what um, Levon and Vitaly want to do with their gauntlets.
Yeah, I thought for a second you were about to say like, oh, I know what Devin wants when he gets the gauntlet, uh, or if he gets the gauntlet, I would say, just make it clear. I don't want to
Uh-huh.
disrespect Vitaly in this case, but if he gets the gauntlet, he would melt it down. Like I think
Well,
he posted a poll on his channel. Can he
yeah,
melt it down?
yeah. He wants to melt it down and put it into an EVW hammer. So so that would be like all the it would be the names and in pure gold and the so EVW and the names of the athletes, and then each time it passes down, you add another name, put their name in gold. I mean, I think that's what he's talking about
So
doing.
so here's something that I want to point out. I was talking to one of our designers, Robert, and he said that WAL's hammer came out about the same time that the Marvel superhero movie Thor was around. So that hammer, I think it's not, is it called the Ragnarok? It's not Ragnarok. It's Thor's hammer, whatever it is. I cannot think it's hammer
Yeah.
in it. It's yeah. So they model it after the hammer. And then subsequently there was a Marvel movie that came out, they called it, well, the Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and that's where we have it. But the final piece, the final art, like legendary, like sort of weapon in the Marvel universe, cinematic universe that came out. Oh yeah, somebody just reminded me. It's called the Mjolnir. That's the Thor's hammer. But the
Hmm.
final equipment, right, in the Marvel Cinematic movie, I don't know if you've seen those. it was when the Mjolnir was destroyed, was damaged, and Thor had to get a new one. It was a Stormbreaker, which is a massive axe. It's
Mm,
a dual bladed axe. So that's something to consider. Instead of trying to be one or the other, we just come out with a dual axe, like a dual bladed axe.
yeah,
Something to consider.
yeah. We'd have to make it so it didn't have, it could travel on the planes okay without having check-in baggage. So it couldn't be like a real blade probably, but more maybe kind of a flat edge blade. I don't know. We can talk more about that too, but that's not a bad thought. I mean, but traveling is what I'm thinking about with the athletes. How do they get it back home? And on the plane, if
Yeah, that's true.
they don't
That's
have
true.
in Europe, as you know, they don't have. I mean, uh, people don't typically do check baggage because check baggage can cost almost as much as the flight. I mean, it's pretty. That's where they make their money, right? So anyway, we'd have to figure out how to handle that, or if we just um, you know let them do check baggage. But anyway, things to consider.
Something to consider, but I'm just telling you by that lore, technically it's an axe. The dual
Yeah.
bladed axe is the next weapon
Yep.
on the list.
Hmm.
So it's neither here nor there. And technically it's the upgraded version of the hammer. Uh just thought it's also the next cool artifact. There is here's let's see, a lot of people talking about. I'm a little bit behind, but people talking about stem cells. Stem cells are great. Do we know if Levon has taken his stem cells yet, Robert?
No, he hasn't taken the stem cells yet. Um, he's deciding which way to go. Um, we've already connected him, and he's talking with Dr. Glenn Cochran from Infinity Functional Performance,
Hmm.
and he's had other people reach out as well. He's trying to figure out which way to go. But yeah, I'm hoping he makes a decision here pretty quickly so he can start healing that much faster.
Okay, well, that's really good. The other one that people are asking about is any updates on potentially Ryan Bowen having a match in the future?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, it was pretty impressive what he did in Australia. He did very well against everybody there, other than Lachlan. I think Lachlan's still recovering from an injury for surgery, so he wasn't there. But looking at how well he did against the bigger guys too. Now Ryan is now a bigger guy, so Ryan's 115 kgs, so he's much heavier than Lachlan now. So when Lachlan beat him last time, they were about the same weight, right? So I think they were like, I want to say 95 kg, but maybe Lachlan agreed to pull him at a little heavier, maybe 105. I can't remember. But whatever the case is, Ryan is much heavier now than he was. So to be on the stage at 115 kg at EVW is much harder than in 95 kg, for example, or 105 kg. Um, so I don't know who we would put him up against at that weight, unless he wanted to drop down in weight. But again, um, I'm not sure when we could have him back either. But we'd like to have him back as soon as we can uh, and meet all the criteria that we need to meet.
It's, who is a good match you'd like for Robert Oberst?
You know, I think he's up and coming. I don't know who we would put him against right now. I think for Robert, I would need to talk to Brian Shaw to get a feel for where he's at right now? I know he's getting better, no doubt. Even from August, even from Colorado, I know he's better, and he's making great progress from everybody I've talked to. So I would want to talk to Brian to get a sense for where he's at, and and I don't want to get a sense from Neil Pickup as well, because Neil's pretty close. And yeah, and just to gauge exactly where he's at compared to where he was in August.
Yeah, fair. There is a question about why certain athletes weren't on our list of nominations. So I thought it would be a little bit prudent for us to kind of take a little bit of time to just go through the award ceremony and what is the methodology of uh, our our math essentially. And the most basic thing I would say is we are structuring this where it's 50-50, and it's not like the weightage of the jury is significantly so high that the fans' votes do not matter. It's actually 50-50. The difference of how you guys vote is strictly based on percentages. Well, based on singular selection, and the way that the jury votes would be in the form of rankings. And so every rank has a certain percentage assigned to it. So therefore, it's a little bit more balanced, and we won't have a major disparity. Example, right? Assuming there is a category that it says your favorite Asian uh, owner from EVW, right? Ideally, I would be at 100 and Robert would be at 0 because maybe it's 92.8. I don't know because I'm the only Asian. I don't know. It's just an example, right? Then, basically, the jury decides who the winner is. So, in order to avoid that, to kind of balance things out a little bit, so in this case, Robert at maximum would be at 25. No, sorry, at minimum would be 25, and I'll be at max at 75 because we kind of we call it the dampening effect for the math. Then the fans gets to also, in this case, control it. But there is also a flip side where the jury now matters a little bit more. It's where it's a very close race between maybe two athletes, right? It's 50-50 example. And then that's when the jury's vote, even though it's dampened, it still has an effect. So this is the way that we could use both of us to balance out our effect and how the math to decide who the winner is. So we had spreadsheets on and to kind of explain why certain athlete uh you know were in the nomination. So and Robert, feel free to chime in at any time. So if we go through our wrestler of the year, we could see Barbora being the first one up there. I mean, we don't have to say too much about Barbora because she's the world women's champ, left and right, right? She's, I think, the second athlete to only hold both titles in that weight category. So she's naturally way up there, right? And then, as the one funny part, Robert, when we were putting that list together with the team, we were like, okay, well, do we nominate Laban? He pulled only one, he pulled only once last year. But then the explanation column was why Levon should be on the list. And the reasoning for him is super funny because the everyone's reasoning has all, world champ, what their record was and so on. But Levon's column for reasoning is just Levon because he's Levon.
Right.
That's it.
That's right. That's right. Yep. That's the reasoning. Um, you know,
It's-
so,
yeah.
so the fact that he only pulled once, that hurts as far as the rating or the voting. I'm sure people will take into account somebody that's pulled, two or three or four times in the year, and they've been dominant, or they've done very well, or they're undefeated, over one pulling once. But if Levon had pulled left and right, and he was dominant in both, and he only pulled once in the left, once in the right, I think people would, it'd be a pretty clear choice, in my mind anyway, that it's pretty hard to beat that.
Yeah. People might just vote for the king anyway. So we we don't know how people will vote here. Well, actually, I do know the current data, but I'm not gonna share that until the award ceremony. But going on, we have Oleg Petrenko. He's 2-0. He holds titles on both arms in two weight categories. He's a second male athlete to ever achieve this. It's a good one. Mindaugas has a very dominant year this year. He's behind Devin. He has a 4-0 record with 3 wins in on the right and 1 win on the left. Technically by round count, he's 12-2. Devin has 5-0 and wins on both arms, and he has the longest win streak right now at 8. Uh, 8 active win streak. And Dadikan has a 3-0 record. Took on much heavier opponents. He won. I think he won all his match. Oh, you know what? Though? I think he's 9-0 on all his rounds. Yeah, by round count. So he has a pretty dominant year. Dadikan. So yeah, there were a couple of people who brought up, well, what about my athlete this and my athlete that? It was not an easy decision, which is actually why I think it was Robert's idea to our nominations was initially set at 5, and then Robert's like, oh man, this list is pretty hard to squeeze down to 5, so let's make it to 7, which is why this list has a nomination of 7. Um, and then obviously the match of the year, we don't have to explain too much, but I'd say go watch all the match. Take the trouble, guys, to watch all the matches again, okay? And then come back and vote. Don't vote based on technically by the choice of latest event, which is EVW 21 in Atlantic City, because Jerry and Camille's match is so fresh right now, it might have a stronger effect. But I say go all the way back to the beginning and watch EVW 16, 17, 18. There are some pretty good matches there. So watch it all again and then vote. That's what I can encourage. Rookie of the year. Again, this is also another list that was initially set at 5. And oh, maybe I should disclose who the 5 jury who are on the panel to vote. Initially, Susanna was on that list, being the co-matchmaker for EVW, but she has rescinded and stepped back. She's recused herself from being on the panel in order to be on the list of Rookie of the Year, which I would arguably say that is significantly probably the right choice. So she's on that list, and she's part of the 7 rookies who won at least one round. Sorry, one match in 2025. So you can click on them and you can see their profiles. I mean, nobody's gonna argue that this is a very good stack 7. Moment of the year. Now there were a little bit discussion about, hey, is moment of the year doubling the match of the year? But I think one of the reasoning was sometimes that there are certain moments. Usually, it's going to be on the table. At least for 2025, it is all on the table, where it may differ outside of match of the year, and people could vote differently. So it's also like I was explaining song of the year versus album of the year. They may be one and the same, or they may not be one and the same. So and you can see, like, for instance, Yoshi versus Petro in EVW 20. It's technically they're not part of match of the year, but you could still vote for them for moment of the year. And I didn't want to call it match of the year, or I'm sorry, I didn't want to call it round of the year like initially because I keep it a little bit broad in case there are certain uh, things that happen outside of the main event that could warrant that. So again, I say the same thing. Go back and watch all the rounds for moment of the year. Watch and then make your decision. So don't vote right now. And then we also have athlete video of the year. This one's a little bit more tricky. Uh, and because we weren't planning on having this this award ceremony until maybe about a month and a half ago or so. We haven't really fully kept track of all the videos. So this year onwards, we'll all be paying more attention. Every time we watch a video, we'll be thinking to ourselves whether or not this video is worthy to be nominated for the 2026 award. So, but for now, I think this is it's a pretty fun thing. Watch all of them again, support our athletes, and then we'll go from there. And then finally, the last, the second last category, actually, is best news media. I think there were a couple of questions on our stream asking why certain channels weren't on, and the way that we kind of brought it down was we looked strictly mostly our heaviest subjective opinions were that the channel has to be consistent, right? Has to be consistent and pumping enough material out for a prolonged period of time. And they're currently still active. So you could throw in a little bit of training videos here and there, but it should be mostly about news media that covers EVW. Now, obviously, that there are some that don't cover EVW and they only cover other leagues. We don't take them into consideration uh, for obvious reasons, and they don't necessarily have to be, friendly towards us. But most importantly, they have to be consistent, and they should always show and bring whatever we are. Like even sometimes they will summarize this podcast itself. That I think we are pretty we want to support basically we want to support more content arm wrestling content creators out there because it's through them that we could get our message out there more efficiently because not everybody's going to watch a 90-minute podcast, but people will watch a 2 3 minute clip from one of these news media outlets, and that's really really helpful, right? And then finally the last one is a fan favorite. So fan favorite, it's the only category that's not 50-50. It is 100% based on fan voting. It's 100% on fan voting. And through this nomination list, you could see it's slightly different from Arm Wrestler of the Year because it's not just based on the arm wrestling results for 2025, but it's who we think that fans were asking for, looking forward to watching them on stage. So it's not a perfect list. I know people would disagree, but argue it out and hash it out on social media, and we'll see. This is our first year. It's going to be live broadcast at the end of the month, and you can see voting ends in less than a week, so you don't want to miss that. There is a lot of um, a lot of things we are working on for the rest of the year. So we want to get this out of the way, and then we can fully focus on how amazing Vienna is going to be. So, if there's any questions, put it on the YouTube comments after the video is ended, and I'll try to answer them because I'll be heading back to the United States tomorrow. So, aside from that, I think it's super fun. Okay, so I just missed reading through all the 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 question the comments, but Robert, what ups? There's another one, Robert. They're asking for upsets of the year. Uh, a
Hmm.
few of them are upsets of the year award. You know,
That's a good
this
idea.
one we initially I think we had 12 categories, but Robert reminded me not to go too crazy on our first one. We gotta get our feet wet a little bit and get it a little bit more structured. So and because of how the timing is, so I would be inclined to agree. So we got that we should structure it down, and it'll be all live broadcasts in Utah from Utah. We'll, and Robert and I will be hosting, and we'll be announcing the results there, and you don't want to miss it. And again, if anybody is wondering, it's on our YouTube channel, not behind a paywall. It's not part of a pay-per-view. Maybe it should be. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get killed if if it's behind a pay-per-view wall. But I've got to start preparing to hit to the factory soon. Robert, do you got any other announcements? Any comments before we kind of let these guys loose?
Well, any other comments that we didn't get to? I'm sure you couldn't get to everybody in that time, but anybody else that you wanted to cover before you go? I mean, the only thing I just have one little announcement, which I think some people have already maybe heard a little of.
Uh, Questions, but we won't have time to go through all of them. I mean, we have people talking about plans for Samusha, uh, comments about Bogdan, Bogdan and Ryan Bowen. There's still comments and questions about uh, Arthur
Yeah.
Makarov,
So
King of
let me
the
just
Table,
answer.
etc.
So I'll go ahead and answer a few of those. So
Mhm.
Samusha, yeah, we will have a um, the the winner in Vienna in 85 kg between Manifester, which is Teletnik, versus Vlad the Destroyer. I mean, those two guys are very, very top. I mean, they won the Swiss Open very easily um, in different weights. Now they're all coming down to the 85. So it, it'll be very interesting to see this match. The winner will actually be going against Samusha, which I guess I'm not supposed to announce that, but so and that'll be in Germany. So the German card we've pretty much got finished. So it is the best card. I think everybody will agree, the best card in EVW history or arm wrestling history for that matter. I mean, I don't think, anybody would question that when they see this card. It's just everything just lined up, just about perfectly. It never lines up perfectly, but this is about as perfectly as I could have ever imagined. I mean, I've ever hoped for. So, yeah, so Samusha will be on that card. I know you don't like me telling people ahead of time, Dexter, but so that will be a title fight based on who wins in Vienna, which will be a great match as well, by the way. Two champions going against each other in Vienna, um, and rising champions, like rising stars, like they're just head and shoulders above everybody else, except for our our top guys, which we don't know. I mean, it very well could be an upset, you know, in Germany. So that's that one. Then the other one, you mentioned Artur Makarov, and I guess I probably shouldn't say any more other than just what we said. But yeah, we do have plans for Artur Makarov as well. And then the what there was one other question for another match as well. Do you remember what that was, Dexter?
Yeah, it was Bogdan and Ryan Bowen,
Oh
or
yeah,
Ryan
yeah,
Bowen
Bob.
versus
Yeah,
Brett
so
Grundy.
yeah. So that one, yeah, we definitely wouldn't do Stoica versus um, we wouldn't do Ryan versus Stoica. And even though Ryan looked very good in Australia, going against the top Australians other than Lachlan because of his injury. Um, I think Ryan again still would have probably beat Lachlan, looking at how he looks now at this new weight, this heavier weight. But still not able to pull Stoica because Stoica is 95 kg. He's agreed to go up to 100 kg catch weight for Nugo because he really wants. I mean, that match is going to be exciting too. So you're 15 kgs apart. So you're what, 33 pounds difference? I just don't think that makes sense. And it wouldn't be right away anyway. So, but the other one that I wanted to mention is, the Leonidas uh, deal. So Leonidas is back on EVW, and so we'll be seeing more of him, and it'll be exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, he'll be in Austria as our special guest. So if you guys want to have a chance to meet him, come on down to Austria, February 28th. And thanks, Benji, for reminding me to put up the link, evwsports.com. You can see everything about that. Thanks, Benji. Uh, and there was one question. This probably will be the absolute last question. Is the voting protected by account authentication? What's to stop people from spamming? We have thought about it, and which is why there is currently an email authentication. And to prevent botting, there is a simple math question that you have to answer. It's a random single digit uh, addition. So, but with that, I think we have we had a great podcast, Robert. I look forward to seeing you back later this week. So with that,
Yeah. Have a great trip back, Dexter. See you soon.
see you soon. Thanks, Robert.
Okay. Thank you.